Hello, welcome to this video. So in this video, I'm just going to take you through a step-by-step on how to host our Invoice SaaS app. So as you can see on the screen here, I have the free deployed version of the app. This one is free on the internet, and I will also leave the link in the description whereby you can actually go and visit and see it. And you can see currently I'm logged in. I can log out. I can see different pages. I can create invoice and so on and so forth. Okay. So I'll just show you a step by step how I came to host it. It was not easy, but finally hosted it, and it is here live, and I'm just going to take you through on the steps that I went through to host it. So first of all, there are some changes that were made in code, not big changes, some few changes, as you are going to be noticing, and I'll be showing you those places that actually I made changes. Okay, so the first thing, I also prepared the readme file. So in this readme file, the most important are the steps here. So I prepared these steps so that they can help us in see how I modified to reach this hosted version of the project. So the first thing at this point, I assume that you have your code. If you have been coding along, you must be having code. And even those ones who have been messaging me on WhatsApp, thank you so much. Sometimes I can be busy and trying to do some stuff or trying out some things, and if I've not been able to give you maybe the responses, maybe I'm putting it in the video. So those who had errors, we're going to just make sure we finish everything in this video. Okay, then so the first thing is that you must get or you have your code. So if you have your code that you have been working on this video, on this series, that's good. If you don't have the code, or you want to compare with mine, you can always you can grab it from the video description. You'll find a link taking you to my source code, and most people asking me why it is paid, and it is for sure to support me. There is nothing like selling you the code, but it is just to support me so that I can get a good gear. My laptop is always complaining, and I just fearing anytime I might be off due to the laptop. So it is just the way to support me so that I can just solicit and I just get a machine. So another thing is, so just you get the code if you just go to let me just show you. So I always put the updated version of the code, so the code you'll find there will be up to date. Okay, the code you'll find there will be up to date, so you don't have to worry or anything. The code is going to be up to date. Okay, so let me just open one of these videos, and I'm very sure the code is up to date. I always just like after making the video, I make sure that the code is up to date. So just go ahead and you can just support me $5 and grab this code, and to be so nice. I promise it will be support, and I will be so much grateful. So moving on back to the steps. So the first step you have to do is you have your code, whether you get it from the link or you have the one you coded, that is great. The second thing is you have to make sure you have all these variables. Look at these variables the way I have them, the same way how they should be in your project. So as you can see here, I have these ones, and if you have been following the video, you saw how we populated these these values, the database, the recent. So make sure you have watched all the videos and you have all these um, values set. Okay, there is one value that I added that was not there previously, and it is this one, next public base URL. Okay, so we had this next auth URL, we had this next auth secret, but I added this next public base URL, and this one is the one we are going to use in our front end on the requests. When we are making the requests, we are going to be using this one, and I will talk to that in a second. Okay, so make sure you have all this in your environment. If you get the code, that file will not be there, so you can create it. Okay, you can create it, and then you are populate with all these figures, got Cloudinary database and all kind of stuff. Okay, so the second thing, of course, is to install dependencies. If you have gotten the code from the link, you make sure you install the dependencies. Otherwise, you already have your project, so there is no problem. The next thing is modify all the fetch requests in the following component to use the next public base URL. So this URL that we have just created in the MV file, and this one is going to be helping us to update all the requests that we did. So some of the components is the register form component. If I go to the register component, just go to components and let me go to register. So this one is for the registration form. So if you just go to this component, and you can see in the on submit function, I created this const. So const base URL is equal to process.env.next public base URL. So one thing I can also say is that this name next public is, you have to, if you are going to use any environmental variables on the client side or on the on your pages or in any of your components, make sure that the name starts with next public. Please don't just put public base URL, it will not work. Make sure you prefix it with next public, then it will start working. So this is how we are using it in our fetch request. So instead of writing the whole fetch and you put localhost here, instead replace it with the base URL, just like this. Okay, so another component is the create invoice page component. So if you just go to our in the app, invoices, create new. Okay, so even here in this component, if you check our create, you see here in this is the on submit, handle form submit. You can see where we had the fetch. I've also replaced it with this base URL, which is process.env.nextPublic base URL. Okay, then also the action button, and this is for the sending the email. So just go to the action. So in the action components, action buttons, where is the action buttons here? So in the sending the email, if you see here, I also have the same thing. Const base URL is process.env, and then you can see I just came here and I modified the invoice URL. Okay, great. Then the next is the fetch requests in the get invoices and get invoice ID in the libs folder. So we have these functions we had in the libs. If I close these and then I go to the libs, where are the libs? So in the libs folder, I have this get invoice by ID. You can see I've also put the base URL in all the fetch requests. I just converted to add this base URL. Even in get invoice, I did the same thing. Okay, cool. So the next thing is modify the Prisma schema in the schema file to include the relationships between user, invoice, blah 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 blah. And I think I should put the schema in a second. Let me put for you the schema here so that we can visualize it. Where is it? Just going to Spa Prisma. So this is the schema here, and I can just put the schema on the screen. Maybe we look at it. I'm just going to go to readme file. Where is the readme file? Where is that stuff here? Modify the Prisma. So I'm just going to put here this just here. Okay, just a second, and let me paste it there. Okay, so I think this is enough. Let me just push this so that we can just have a look at it. Okay, just git push. So I'm just going to, I just want to show you this in a second. Let's see. Okay, I think it is already there. Let me refresh. Okay, so the schema is here. So modify the schema in the Prisma file. So make sure your schema has all these models, more especially including how we modified the invoice. So in the invoice, the most important thing you have to see is that I have the invoice ID, which is an integer, and I have all these details. But then the most important thing is this, which one we added for the user. Okay, so for the user here, you see that it has the user of type user. And now look at the relationships. So I have the user ID, which is of type string. I know most of you have here. Let me just increase this here. I know most of you here you have type user ID of type int. I change this one to string. Okay, I change this one to string, and this field here of the user ID, where is it? And just scroll up. So user is zero type string, and you can see it is the references to the email in the user. So instead of pointing to the ID in the user, I'm pointing to the email. So I'm using the email as the user ID. Please take a note that I'm using email as a user ID in this case. Okay, so make sure you have your schema just looking like this, like mine. Okay, that's great. And every time you make changes in the in your schema, please run npx prisma migrate dev. So when you make any changes in your Prisma, just go ahead and run npx prisma migrate dev name init. Okay, just run this command. This one is to update your schema in the Supabase. Okay, so I'm hoping I'm moving step by step so that you understand. So another thing that is very important is update the package.json file to include the post install command for Prisma generation. So this is the problem. If you don't add this, you are going to find problems while you are hosting. It took me time to sort out this problem. Okay, so you have to add this post install, and this is the name you should use. Okay, add this exact name, post install, and then you say Prisma generate. So when you host this, they want to generate to get a new Prisma client before the app actually is built. Okay, that's this one. They have the post install, and they will first install this, then they do the building. So make sure you have this command included in your package.json. And I think that those are the steps. Now there are some changes, a few changes that I made, most especially on the protecting side when you are not logged in. Okay, when you're not logged in, let's say if I log out here on the app, let's see what happens. And first of all, you can see the view invoices link disappears, all these things changes. Okay, so I made some changes, like for instance in the navbar. So let me just go to this navbar. So if you just components and I just go to navbar, so this is how you protect pages. Okay, and I want to show you when you're using client. So this is the client side. So in the client side, when you're protecting pages using next auth, first of all, you have this use session. Okay, so you get this use session hook. Okay, and it comes from, of course, the next auth React. Okay, and then we destructure the session and the status. So depending on the status, you can actually render different UIs using the status. And you can see, for instance, the first one is if the status is loading, I saw the loading spinner. And if the status is okay, so you can see down, I have a lot of status. Then I saw the different links, so you can see if the status is authenticated, I saw this div. I go ahead and I saw this div with the, I guess, the initials, blah blah, this link here. Okay, if it is authenticated, and if it is not, I saw the login. So you can see how I'm starting to use the that's why if you are not authenticated, you only see login register. Otherwise, you can show your you can show the initials of the person. Okay, another thing that I added in the links is let me just get from this very hosted version. So this is the navbar. So you can see here I have these links, and then I'm saying if the status is authenticated, just add this view invoices. That's why you see you cannot see view invoices right now, because this person is not authenticated. So if you are authenticated, you'll see one more link here which says view invoices, where someone can visit all their invoices. Okay, so another thing, if you try to go to if you try to create an invoice, okay, or if you try to go to this page, now this is the if you look at this, this is how you do on the client side. So one page that is actually allowing us to view the invoices, if you go to the invoice, and remember we have this invoice page, and this is a client side, this is server side. You can see we don't have any use client, meaning it is a server side component. So how do we authorize pages? Because on this page, if you try to visit this page of invoice manually, if you try to visit manually there, you will still not succeed. You'll still be given this page, please log in to be able to view your invoices. Okay, so this is how I'm protecting this page, and I put you click here to log into your account. So to be able to do that on the server side, we use this get server session. Okay, so you can do this on the server side here, and then you also use the auth options. And how you use it is that you can get the session. So const session is await get server session, and then you pass in the auth options. And then I say if there is no session, then that's when I can show this component here. Okay, otherwise if there is a session, then it is going to show a different thing, this one. Okay, so yeah, this is this is how it is supposed to be. Okay. Okay, so that is it. And for the same thing, I'm getting the user ID from the session. This is how you extract things from the session. And why I need the ID here, of course, is to pass in when I'm getting invoices. By the way, so on this page here, when someone is authenticated, we only show the invoices that belong to this person. If right now I try to log in, let me just log in, test, and then here I can just log in here. Okay, so a person has to only see, if I try to now view invoices, and you can see even here on this create page there is view invoices. If I try to view the invoices, you see that we are viewing only the invoices that belong to this user ID. There is no you don't need to view the invoices that belong to other users. They must be only for this user, a particular user ID like this one. Okay, so this is the thing. So on this page, what I'm doing is that I'm getting the user ID from the session, then I pass it I pass this user ID, so I get the user ID from the session, and that's why I use the email. So I get the email of the person as a user ID. I pass it in this get invoices. Okay, this get invoices, it takes in a user ID. If we go to this function in the libs, you see that it takes in this user ID, and then it makes a request. It makes a fetch request, and it is using the base URL, and then it makes this API to invoices, and I'm passing this user ID as a search param. Okay, so this one is going as a search param as like this, and then of course I'm just doing no store. I don't want to cache this request. Now if we go to this API invoices, so I modified the API. So if you go to API invoice and you go to route, so if you go to the create to the fetch, you can see I'm getting the search params. Okay, so get the search params just like this, and from the search params I can extract the user ID in this format. So user ID is request.nexturl.searchparams.get user ID. So I get this user ID, and then I can fetch all the invoices. So db.invoice.findMany, and then I do include the table data where user ID is the user ID that I have brought in. And this is why I'm getting only the invoices that belong to this user ID. I know we did not do this. I gave it as an assignment when we were in the video, but this is how you can do it. Okay, so that is cool. So that is some modifications that I made to be able to fetch all the invoices for this particular person. Okay, another modification I added this user ID column. That's why we did not have, we had the invoice ID, we had the invoice name. So in this table I added the user ID. So you can just go, so in that table, let me see, you can go in that table. Where is the table? If you just go to page, there is this component. Where is the component? So you can see in that table you have the invoice, so invoice ID, and then here I think I added the invoice. We have the invoice ID, and then we have invoice.user ID. So I added this invoice.user ID, so that's why I have this populated. Cool. Another thing that I did onto this view invoice, it also brought a lot of problems. So when you click to view an invoice, you notice I can view the invoice, and if you're not having the internet, it can also be a problem. Let me see. Seems I have a problem. I think we'll reach on that a second. Okay, but there was some problems, as you can see still here, and you can see the view invoices link now is there when someone is logged in. Okay, so one thing also is to notice that on this page, on the detailed page here, okay, where we are getting these params and we are getting invoice by ID. So we are getting this invoice by ID. By the way, let me also run this locally. Npm run dev. Okay. So that is some of the things that I made some changes onto different parts. Okay. And if you want to look at my code, of course the link is there. You can just go ahead and support me and look at the code. What else? Okay, now there are those people who had on the create invoice here, there was a problem of these errors, but they don't stop in production, they don't show up. And another thing I did is this button of this remove button here. You can see this one is no longer a button. So if I just go to the components and the table, let's see, we have the preview table, and then we have this form, the form table. So in the form table, I changed this. You can see this span. Instead of the button, they were complaining that you cannot put a button inside the table inside. So I changed this into a span, and I think I should give it a class name, and you can just say cursor. I think it's supposed to be like cursor or pointer, I don't know. You can check on Tailwind the class for making it the class cursor pointer actually. So just to make this one a cursor pointer, because when you, by default, the button from Tailwind, it has the cursor, but this one doesn't have the cursor, so you can put the cursor. Okay, but it still works really well. So another thing, so this error here, there is a friend of mine who was in my inbox asking me about this, the error about the it was hydration, the hydration errors. So if you are having hydration errors, you can first change this button and make it a span. Okay, and then also when you deploy, those errors are not there. If you inspect the page, they don't have those you don't have those errors anywhere. Even in the console, you can see we don't have any errors to do with that. So I think it was this problem here. Okay, but you can still show me or tell me if it is still existing. But after changing that, it just went away just like that. Okay, then what else? There are some of the things that I changed, and you can just go ahead and create. Let's try to create an invoice. Okay, we can just try to create an invoice. I guess you can still this thing is troubleshooting. After you have hosted, you can still troubleshoot. You don't have to be there. That's what makes you a developer. And I might just not do like exactly like everything. And let's just say this one, we call it, this is maybe YouTube. Okay, I'm just going to say that so to just know it, and then I'm just going to say here YouTube live, whatever. just like that, and then just scroll down. I'm just going to come here and I put like here subscribe, and you say quantity 1, and then like here price like 1,000. Okay, so you can just add more lines, but I'm just going to click create. Okay, creating invoice. So invoice created, and by the way, I did not test the print functionality, but I just say print. Yep, so the print functionality works very fine. And then you can now view invoices to see if this invoice was created. So view invoices, and then this takes us to the invoices, and you can see last year we have the YouTube live, and you can check. We can also confirm in the super base. Okay, super base. Okay, we can confirm in our super base if everything is creating the way it's supposed to be. Okay, as I've said, don't just cram. Try to understand whatever we are developing. Try to be proactive in one or the other. Just try to see if you can troubleshoot something. If it's not working that side, first you can comment in the video description, or you can even reach me in the inbox, or you can try to search online to see that you solve the problem. And that's what makes you a developer, is to make sure that you hustle with the problem until it is done. Okay, and then also here, let's see. So you can see the one we just created here. It is here, invoice with ID 11. Let's see the rows. Invoice ID 11. Okay, invoice ID 11. Invoice ID 11. You can see here it was subscribed 1,000. So all the details are being saved in the database really correctly, which is nice. Okay, so just go ahead and try to view this invoice. Now, for some reason, you can see my data is not being read. I think it's something I did not check. I did not check this part here, but you see for some reason it doesn't. And I'm just going to run this offline, and I see if it is the case. Localhost 3000. Okay, so that's how you'll be testing out things. So, but meanwhile, you can see all the changes that I made in the code. That's the purpose of going through all these ones. I made some, I was making some changes, and I hope you have seen some of those changes. Okay, here the data is not being fetched, and I just want to go to the console and see what is there. And in the console, we have this object, and this is the user object. Let me go on to this page. This is the invoice detailed page. This invoice detailed page is inside app, invoice, and then this ID, this page here. So first of all, you're supposed to get the invoice ID. So this is invoice page params ID. First of all, I'm just going to console the invoice, and also I'm just going to console the ID. Okay, console.log, console.log. I'm just going to console.log ID, and the invoice. We see if we are getting these details back by this get invoice by ID. And if it is not getting back, we can also confirm if we did not mess up anything here. Okay, get invoice by ID, and then we pass this ID in. We have this base URL, and then we have await fetch, base URL, API, invoice, and then we pass in the ID. And I think that should be Good. Okay. Just I'm still loading this offline. Let me see. I want to run this offline so that we can just test the things offline. Okay, it is still here compiling pages. Let's just give it a second. Okay. Yeah, so I just want to see if the invoice we are getting it back on this local one. Just go on the local host and it is just loading the app. And this is the good thing of having all these spinners. If you have a slow internet or something, at least it shows the client that the app is loading. Maybe you could say please wait. Okay, I just give it some second to load the pages. Finally it has loaded and you can see I'm logged in. So I'm just going to go to view invoices. Okay, view invoices, and you want to see that it actually just going to fetch also the one we just created online. There is this one we created here online, this one. Let's just see if it can fetch it. Okay, so it is still here fetching. Okay, so you can see this one we created here right now, this YouTube live. So just go to view invoice. Okay, so just put like view invoice and let's see here offline. What does it do? And those things normally happen. You can have the app working on the local host, and then when you deploy it online, it has some issues, but you have to read the problems carefully and start sorting one by one. And you can see offline here all the details are being fetched. Okay, if I go to the console, you can see in the console having let's just see, these details are coming from other places. I guess navbar, all these ones are from navbar. Then preview table, I'm not seeing here any details. Invoice 11, invoice, and this is this. Oh, okay, so it's supposed to console it. Yeah, it is a server component, but you can see here is saying undefined, and I don't know where this one comes from. Each child in a list should have a key. Okay, so first of all we have here undefined. Let me confirm. Let me go back to this page here. Okay, so I have here the invoice, and I'm just going to put here to make sure this is the invoice. I'm just going to say the invoice ID is, and let me wrap this in the ID so that I make sure it is the one I'm looking at, just like this dollar. Okay, and then I have this invoice also. So what would have gone wrong? First of all, here on this, what they are saying the key, if you saw somewhere, there is what they showed. They said the key warning, each child in the list should have a unique key. That one can also stop problem, can bring problems, and I don't know where that one is, but let's check in the table. So let's just go to this table. Where is the table? In the components, and I can check to confirm that the form table has the key. Let me just see, wherever you're having a map, in any place where you have the map, I can see here we have the key. Do we have another map? I think that's the only place we have the map. Okay, I don't know if I could search map. Okay, you can search map in these pages. Let's see here, invoices.map. I have invoice map. Where is it? In the T-body, I have that map, and first calculate all these things. I have the key here, and they're saying what? I'm getting the key from the invoice. Okay, so this invoice here, I guess it has the ID, and that's why we used here. Key is invoice.id. Okay, so that is that invoice. There is this one, FAQ, and it has, does it have key? I just also give this one a key. Whenever you're having something, you must have the key. And I'm just going to IDX. Okay, that is good. Then we have this FAQ also. The key is there. Features. Do we have the key? Yeah, the key is there. And then we have this table data. Let's see, the key is there, and the preview table. Let's see, key is there. Okay, so we have the, most of them we have the keys. Okay, so I'm just checking to confirm. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and see. And here, for some reason, I'm having this, all the details, I'm having them for the invoice. Okay, I have all the details for the invoice, and the ID 11 I can see there. Okay, seeing I have the details on the console, and here the invoice ID is 11. So the invoice ID is coming through this 11. I'm having it, and everything seems to be okay. Okay, I'm just going to somehow push this, but I don't know the problem on the online version. Okay, so let me just try to push this. Okay, trying to fix detail page. I'm just going to see here git push. Okay, I'm just trying to see what the problem could be. So having done all these changes, now next just try to host. So what I just did, I duplicated my app. I created just like a duplicate of this to show you how to host. And even if it doesn't succeed in hosting or something, I don't know, I've not like seen. I just only copied some few files from this original one. Okay, and then I created a repository which everyone should know at this point. I created this repository. Where is it? So I created this repository here. You can see I created it like 1 hour ago. So just I created this repository here. So just go ahead and create a repository for your project. It is really very easy. Push the code. Okay, when you push the code, of course it doesn't come with .env. You can see here in the code there is nowhere you have like the .env file. Okay, make sure that in your package.json you have the other code we talked about. Make sure that here you have the this thing here. in the scripts you have this post install done. Okay, so great. So you at this point I expect you to have your repository and you have fixed some the things I've told you to change. And now after that, okay, after that just go ahead and what else? After that you can, and we also just tested, by the way, the sending of the invoice. I'll just show you. So after you have tested everything, just go to your dashboard on Vercel. At this point I also expect you having an account. Just click on new project, just like this. Of course at this point also you have your GitHub connected, so there is this, you can just come here and I have this invoice app deployment, so you can click onto this this one, go ahead and give it all these things, and then the most important ones is environmental variables. Okay, so they just say here tip, they say paste a .env above to populate the form. I don't know how this one works, but let's try to copy that and see. I'm just going to go and copy the environmental variables. Just copy them, control. Let me just remove spaces maybe. So I've removed all spaces and I'm just going to say Control A, Control C. I don't know if they mean like they are saying tip paste a .env above to populate the form. So I'm just going to just click in the first one and I paste. Wow, and yeah, it works. So just simply copy, paste in the first one, and you can see it has populated all these values. Instead of copying one by one, just simply Control C. So I think you remove the spaces between here, okay, and then Control C, and then come click in the first thing here, then Control V, it adds all these ones. Okay, so after that just click on deploy, and when you click on deploy, of course this is a point where guys are having fingers crossed, others are praying in languages to make sure the app deploys, but you shouldn't worry about that, because every time you find like errors in the deployment, you are actually learning. You see the problem and then it gives you how to solve that problem, instead of just having like it working for the first time. Some of the big projects I deploy, they don't work in the first place. You deploy a project and it's having issues, and then you have to troubleshoot all days, like even it can take you even a week troubleshooting what is the problem, but at the end of the day you learn a lot of things from that. Okay, so yeah, whenever there is a deployment issue, just keep on troubleshooting until you get it done. Okay, if you continue having any problems, you can try to comment in the on the video. You can comment, and then we see how we can help each other if it is possible. And if you have any big idea you want us to work on, for instance, there is a project you want me to work on, like to make a video about. Maybe you have this, they gave you a challenge at work, or there is a project that you think is very unique. You realize on YouTube I'm trying to create something that is very, very unique. Okay, so you can just comment, or you can inbox me the idea you have, and then I can just make a video about that. But I'm having a lot of things coming up next, a lot of nice things that we are going to work on. So it has passed very well. After you have done all what I've told you, you can see it actually deploys successfully. Okay, it has deployed successfully. If it has deployed, thanks to you, and then you see you have the domain where you can click and share with your friends and put it on your portfolio. Okay, so yeah, so you can see it is fully working, and then people can, you cannot create the invoice. You see, please log in to do that. Okay, I've showed you how to protect pages both using the client side and the server side. Okay, I've showed you how to do that, both the client side and the server side. Okay, so meanwhile on the original one, I'm still having the problems of fixing the detailed page. And I mean, I don't know if it has really updated. Okay, and if it has really updated, and to know that it has really updated, let's go on the detailed page. Okay, and you can see this is how it gives like everything like undefined. This is a server component. That's the problem. We can also not look at the consoles, because the console for this one will be on the server side. Okay, but let's just like test the sending of email. This one is a small problem. To fix this one, I'm just going to be like really working. The ones who will get the code, I think you'll find the version where this one is working, because you saw that on offline, on the offline version. Where is the offline version? You saw that on the offline version it is working completely well, so there must be a small problem, more especially either it is the loading time, I'm not so sure, but you see that here the all the invoices are showing, they are showing properly. Okay, we have all these invoices, the data is being picked really properly. So this is a short thing that you can just work on to fix, since the fact that the data is actually there in the database, so that one is not a big deal. Okay, yeah, so sending of the invoice online, let's try send the invoice actually. So send. Okay, so you say invoice sent successfully. Let me just go to my Gmail and check. Okay, so you can just see that all the functionalities that we put, so you can see here all the functionalities that we put, they are really working. And let's view the invoice, and it takes us to the invoice. Yeah, however much we haven't gotten these details, but the invoice sending the email is working properly, so that is a plus and it is a good thing. Okay, and one more important thing, if you notice, if I click here to log in, and on this login page, if I try to create an account, and this is the new one we have just deployed. Okay, this one, the app deployment Vercel, this is the one we have deployed, 2 of us. So if you try to register for some reason here, okay, it should not work. Okay, because like we are still having localhost. Okay, so if you remember this, you can see here it seems something is wrong with your network, and this is just because actually is that on this we are still having this. If you check what we have in our next public base URL, this one, so make sure that after you have deployed, when you have deployed here and everything is okay, you can either so you have to copy this link here. So copy this link and just go and update it. Okay, you can just go and update this link. So one way you can just do is copying this, Ctrl C, the deployed version, because when it is deployed, it shouldn't use this localhost 3000. Okay, so when after you have deployed, just go ahead and modify this, and you can just go to the environmental variables by going to the Vercel. So go back to the Vercel, to this project, and you will see settings. So click on the settings. Okay, So click on the settings. So you can do various things. For instance, you can give your you can go ahead and give a domain name. There is Git, blah blah. There are so many things, but we are interested in the environmental variables. So click on the environmental variables. Okay, and then you can just come and modify them. So you'll see all of them, they are down here. Okay, they are going all of them to be listed here. So just come and you have to copy this URL just the way it is here. Copy, and just come and modify it. So you have to modify this next public base URL. So just click on this and click on edit, and then you can simply replace this with this and remove this slash. Okay, so that one. After that, you can save. Do the same thing to this. There is this next auth URL. So you just come and edit also here, and also remove this localhost and just put this. So this is how you edit the environmental variables and put the deployed version of the app. So there are some things you can just work on the project, like making the whole thing responsive. I'm not sure if this is looks like it is not somehow responsive. Yes, you can just work on like a responsive part, make sure everything looks fine. You know, you can just add on the project and make it really massive, and it comes out. You can customize the colors, you can customize the footer and make it really look production grade. But it has been a really nice one. Okay, so if you have liked this content, please go ahead and subscribe. I genuinely just thank those ones who are watching my content. At least right now we are on 1.1, and we look forward to this really create more content for you guys. I'm so much happy and delightful that you are watching my videos and you are learning from my videos, and I'm just going to be making more unique content for you, so that you make the projects that are really worth putting on your portfolio. If you have any project idea or you have a really nice project, just comment in the description, or you can inbox me, and then I will just work on that video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.